Do you care who your opponent is in the midterm, Kim Schreier or Jason Ritterizer?
Not really that important. Honestly, when you look at both of them, they both come from the resist movement, and doesn't matter which one, they're going to be the most far left-wing opponent I've actually ever had in every time I've run. And so this is going to be a real contrast in the end.
Well, and that's where I kind of sit with things is I don't think anyone who voted for Shannon Hayter, Kim Schreier, or Jason Ritterizer is going to turn around and say, I'm going to check a box for Dino Rossi. Do you agree? So if you have, I just don't see that happening. So you have 43% of the vote right now. What I see as your best bet is trying to get more Republicans to come out to vote. You can disagree if you want, but how do you do that?
Well, actually, we have a lot of Democrats that support us, and there'll be some people that'll cross over. Some of them might not vote because it was pretty contentious. You think about Kim Schreier, she was the establishment's candidate on the Democratic side, so much so that the state Democratic Party in the beginning told major donors only give to Schreier, not to any of the other candidates unless it's after the primary. So essentially she was Hillary Clinton and the rest of them were Bernie Sanders. It's the same thing that happened at the federal level. And so I think there's going to be some people are going to be pretty upset about that. We're in a good spot. We have twice as many votes as our nearest competitor. And we're in a very good spot right now.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a surprise because you have three Democrats that were kind of neck and neck and neck. Clearly, they're going to divide some votes. So the question, as you had said, is how many of those other two Democrats are going to give their votes to the front runner? How many might give them to you? Can I read you something? I want to read you something that the Washington State Democrats said about you last night. You might have already read it, but let me read it again. Democrats collectively are outperforming three-time statewide loser Republican Dino Rossi by 6 points. Despite having nearly universal name recognition, Rossi is nowhere near getting 50% of the votes in his district as voters are rejecting him in no uncertain terms. That from the Washington State Democratic Party. What do you say to that, sir?
Well, I say that's interesting because actually we're a three-time winner in the 8th Congressional District because in 04 against Gregoire, in 08 against Christine Gregoire, and in 2010 against Patty Murray within the 8th Congressional District, against the best they had, with everything they had, with $40 million of negative ads thrown at me. We trounced them all 3 times by over 10 points. We're going to keep working forward. I've been going 8 to 12 hours a day since September. I've doorbelled well over 5,000 houses personally myself. I'm just going to keep going. We will win.
Can I ask you, though, you have lost 3 statewide elections. This is considered one of the most consequential races in the United States right now. I was watching the national news. It was all over the news last night. Having lost 3 statewide elections, how much pressure do you feel? This is a seat that Republicans have had since it was created in '83. Democrats have never won this seat. How much pressure do you feel to keep it for them?
I really don't feel pressure. I'm just going to keep going forward. You know, and I have opponents that are just so far out of the mainstream. I mean, Kim Schreier didn't even get endorsed by the alternative newspaper in Seattle, The Stranger, because she was too left-wing to be endorsed, is what they said in their endorsement of Ritterizer. And so, you know, we're going to have a real contrast here. And when you come from the resist movement, what you're telling the world is that you don't want to work with anybody else unless they agree with you on everything. I was very successful in Olympia, balancing deficits, you know, 2 strikes you're out, sex crimes against children, all the things I did. Everything I did in a bipartisan fashion. We have enough people yelling at each other in politics already without adding one of these two. I was very successful in business and in politics and in life by not yelling at people, and that's how I'm going to operate.
I will say you're a calm guy. We've had some interviews before. I've always, you know, saw that you come across like that. And this is one of the challenges I think we're having right now in politics. And if you're true to your word and you're not going to yell at anyone or use all this rhetoric, we're hearing a lot about the president, a lot about, you know, some big lofty things that are happening in D.C. And what I've heard from people here is they feel as if that's happening at the expense of issues that they care about. So if you're to get that seat in D.C., how do you put some of that aside and focus on some of the real challenges that are actually impacting constituents here?
Well, exactly how I did it in Olympia. The way I look at it is, when I got to Olympia, is no matter how liberal or conservative somebody was, everybody had value. And it was my job to figure out what we agreed on. And let's go work on that. I'm not going to poke you in the eye on the things that we disagreed on, which is why people work with me. That's why I not only have the Republicans endorse me, I have, you know, independents, I have the majority of the mayors in the district, I have all of law enforcement. I have one current Democrat state senator, former Democrat state senator, Brian Sontag, the former Democrat state auditor, Democrat sheriff of Kittitas County, on and on, both sides of the aisle that are supporting me in this race because they know me. I've been reappointed to the state Senate twice, put forward by Republican precinct committee officers and unanimously put back in the state Senate by the Democrat-controlled King County Council because they know me.
So really quick, just a few seconds left. Make your pitch. We don't know who you're going up against. You say it doesn't matter. You are still going to have to get some other people to come out and vote for you to win this thing. So make your pitch to them.
Well, actually, if you want somebody that actually knows how to work across party lines, it's not theory or talk. I've actually done it with reporters and TV cameras in my face. Someone who isn't going to be yelling and screaming at other people, who can bring people together. I'm the person that's actually done that, and I'm the person that can do that in Washington, D.C., and I think that's what they're missing.
All right, Republican Dino Rossi coming out on top in last night's primary for the 8th Congressional District. I think we'll be hearing a lot from you over the next couple months. Sounds like you have a busy few months ahead, so thanks for making the time to stop by.
You bet, thank you.
Yep. Back to you guys.
Brandi, thanks. All right.